Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning for those who are watching us through the internet. Welcome to this beautiful rainy Sunday here in Toronto. Um, so today's lecture, it's called Material and Spiritual Addictions. It's going to be given by Teresa, our friend. But before we start, we are going to have the initial reading and the initial prayer done by Isabel.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So this is from the book Happy Life from Divaldo Pereira Franco and Joana de Angelis. Be a friend to whoever is looking for your support and presence. Individuals need friends to live as much as they do breathe. There are those who walk among the crowds, suffering loneliness and needing company and friendship. Never let anyone leave your presence without taking away something good from the moments spent with you. You have much to offer. May discovering these values be your first step. Put your gifts at the service of your nearest neighbor. Nobody is so bereft of spiritual assets that he cannot spare a little something for others. So let's close our eyes. Take a deep breath. And connect with the spirituality, with the energy around us, that we can learn, that we can feel this energy and take something away to calm our spirits and to be connected with our spiritual guides and the spiritual workers of this house so we can follow our mission. Amen.
Thank you so much. All right, it's good to have you all here today. So, as Denise told us, the lecture today is going to be material and spiritual addictions. Okay. So, all of us here have inside of us our virtues and our vices, right? Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about addictions. That's what we're talking about, vices or tendencies. What are our tendencies? What are our temptations? Because our temptations and tendencies is what led us to our vices, right? It can be different from each one of us. But for us to understand what vices are, we need to understand first what virtues are. So virtues are sentiments that lift us above the matter, right? So every time we have a virtue or someone who's very virtuous is someone that the spirit is the predominance is the spirit over the matter. So they're way more spiritual and less mature. So there's the people who are less attached to the material life, be more attached to the spiritual life. And when I say less attached, it doesn't mean that like, they have to be poor and have nothing or anything. No, you can have people who are very virtual and be rich, right? But they give the right value to the money. They know that that's not theirs. Money is not a temptation for them. Money is just a tool that they have it to live their lives, to help all the ones around them. So they know how to deal with the material things, regardless if they have a little bit, if they have a lot. It's not a temptation for them because they're even more connected to the virtues, to the feelings, sensations, and emotions, and consequently the actions to lead to goodness to themselves and to all the ones around them. Okay. So then vices or addictions has to be the opposite, right? So it's serious imperfections. We're talking about the smallest. We talk about serious imperfections. The natural disposition that we have to commit actions contrary to what virtues are, right? To contrary to the good moral values. So every time we have something, and it's I always do that. I'm always impatient. I'm always this. Or we can easily talk about, the alcohol or anything. I'm always in there. It becomes an addiction. That's my tendency. Or every time I'm put in a certain situation, I always do what I know is not the right thing to do, right? So our tendencies is our habits, our addictions, okay? So therefore, vices is everything that proves that there's a predominance of the matter over the spirit, right? So the more I attach to the material life, the more attached I give to the material things, to my money, to things that I have, that I own, and I think life is just a party, let's enjoy because this is just one life anyways, and I have to do it. I don't care for people around me. That's someone who's very materialized and really more connected to vices, to bad habits, to addictions, material and spiritual. Okay. So spiritism brings us even more broad understanding what vices are, right? And even virtues. But today we're going to be talking about just the vices, just the not so fun part, right? Because he brings to us the concept that we are mortal spirits. So it's not just about this life here. It's not just about what I'm doing here right now or what my choices here right now, but it's saying that we are a collection, my tendencies right now, my vices, my addictions, my tendencies. It is a collection of everything that I brought from a previous life, right? With also what I'm doing here right now with my life, right? So they're not just the results of what's happening with me right now, but I'm a being that brings a whole baggage of experience, that brings what kind of a level of moral and intellectual evolution I am right now, right? That's what's going to dictate how much morally I'm evolved right now. Well, it depends on what I have been choosing to do right now, but also there's everything that bring to me as well from previous experience, right? So that's the extra that experiences bring to us, not just about here right now. We have many other lives, many other choices that we did back in there, and some of them over and over again because we've been addicted to them, and we keep doing that, and maybe right now we keep doing them as well. Some of them we don't then anymore. Used to do before, don't do anymore, right? But that's what's going to dictate what kind of tendencies we have right now, what kind of addictions we have, right? So Kardec, on the question 793 of the Spirit's book, he asks to the spirits, so how can we recognize when a society is completed? And it is complete in a sense that it's now, we can call this a civilized, like we know, we have no vices anymore. We have now it's all like a society that's led by virtues, right? And the answer from the spirits is, you recognize its moral development. You believe yourselves to be very advanced because you have made great discoveries and wonderful inventions. And because you're better situated and better clothed than primitives. So basically, I think we're civilized because now we don't ride horses anymore. Now we have electric cars, and we have this technology. Now we have smartphones and computers, and we don't live in the caves anymore. Now we're living in houses, and we have running water. We don't need to go to the well and pick up water anymore in the buckets, and all this. And we dressed better. Now we have like thermoregulated clothes and all this technology and everything, and that makes us civilized, right? And that's why he's saying here, okay, you guys think that that's what makes you civilized. But of course, they didn't end the answer right there, right? They go, however, there's always, the problem is that the Spirit's books, there is always a however. And it's a problem because that's when you get in trouble after the however, right? However, you only have the right to truly call yourself civilized when you finally banish the vices from your society that dishonor it. And when you finally live as brothers and sisters by practicing Christian charity. Until then, you are really no more than enlightened cultures that have passed through only the first phase of civilization. So yeah, having all of this that we have, it is part of being civilized. If you look at our laws now and you go back to our laws 500 years ago, our laws much better. Yes, they're much better. This getting more and more civilized. We cannot call ourselves civilized yet, like in the true sense, like when Kardec is completely civilized, because you cannot call a civilized humanity when we look around and look at the amount of wars that we have right now going on our planet. That's not civilized. That's not true Christian charity. That's not treating each other as brothers and sisters, right? We cannot have a civilized humanity when rich countries waste tons and tons of food and resources, while we have hundreds of thousands of people dying of starvation in this planet. Okay? So we really didn't learn yet how to look at each other really and accept our differences, embrace them, and know that just because we're different or we have different beliefs, it doesn't make us less brothers and sisters. We look at each other and see myself on the other and start to treat the others really the way they would like to be treated. Then that's really the moment that we let our vices go, and we're going to start to be a completely civilized humanity or community, right? Because right now we're just in the, like Ceci, we're just in the first phase. We're very good on the outside, right? Very good. Yes, we're pretty civilized right now, right? On the outside. But even in terms of technology, we have to think twice. Because does everybody in this planet have access to all this technology that we have? To a good housing like we have? To proper clothing? Food? No. So even in terms, if you look like really what we consider now these days to be civilized, not even that sense we're really there. Because then if everybody had access to all of those things, school, health, then I would say, oh yeah. I would say now we're on the second phase of being civilized, right? We just need to start to treat each other as a person. But then even the first phase, it's incomplete, right? And it's incomplete because our addictions, our vices. And the thing is, when we're talking about vices or addictions or tendencies, or we always easily think about the material ones, right? Alcohol, drugs. You can think about sex, food, all of those things. Those are addictions, right? And they're true addictions. But we have also to remember that there's the moral addictions, right? Which is the spiritual addictions, right? And the Spirit's book brings us very clearly that there's two addictions that we all have it. We all have it, okay, in more or lesser degree, which is the root of all the other addictions that we have. And it's pride and selfishness. And everything else comes out of it. Vanity, greedy, gossipy. Yeah, we don't see as an addiction, gossipy. Yeah, gossipy, judging. Right? We don't like to do gossiping, right? We don't like to judge people at all, right? Anger, I'm guilty as charged in those two. And guys, gossip, so great to talk about someone's behind back, as far as not me, right? They're talking about me. Actually, sometimes I keep thinking about, okay, we all do gossip at work, especially because that's when, but I keep thinking like, oh, how many times they actually go? I start now lately thinking of how much maybe they're gossiping when I'm not present, because that's true, and I'm pretty sure many times they have gossip, and then it doesn't sound good when I start to think about it, right? But we all do about the other people, right? Anger, impatience, those are all vices. And we're not talking about anger in terms that something really bad happened to you and out of frustration and you feel angry. It's okay, that's part of human beings. It's part of us as humans to feel angry, right? The problem is that it was not just a moment. The problem is when I carry the anger for a long, long time, I'm addicted to it now. To feel angry, or every time something happens to me, I only know how to resolve that with being angry with anger. So that's a problem, because that becomes a vice that I have. Or I'm impatient all the time, right? That's a habit. That's an addiction I have, to be impatient all the time with everything. One little thing is not the way I am, that's it, I'm completely impatient. Okay. Different than you have moments. Right? And we all have different things. There's things that could make you very impatient. To me, it's like, oh, it doesn't bother me. And vice versa. Stuff that to me bothers me a lot. And it's like, oh, that doesn't bother me. Right? So we all have our moments in it. And it's okay. We're talking about it here, really things that becomes a habit. Because that's what a vice it is. That's what an addiction is. Something becomes a habit. It's now become it's my tendency. And I let it go every time it comes. Okay. But we never think about those things as a habit, right? As a vice. as an addiction, and addicted to complain. I don't have that either. Complain. Complain? No, not at all, right? So complaining all the time. We complain at work, we complain at home, we complain all the time. We always complaining. It's an addiction. We are addicted to complain because it's much easier to complain than sometimes stop and try to think, okay, maybe why that person did that way? Or even question, hey, so why didn't that way this thing? Because it didn't work. It's like, no, it's easy. Just say how this person did. I always do everything wrong. Ah, it's always easier. It's much easier. Addiction. We're addicted, right? We don't see those things. It's much easier to see the material addictions. And I'm going to tell you one thing, as hard as it is sometimes for you to beat on a material addiction, and talk with anybody who's an alcoholic, who finally got in control, or has a drug addiction, and ask them how hard it was to get out of it. Ask them. It's huge. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of power in there to say, I'm not gonna let this control me anymore. Okay? But I can guarantee and get rid of our spiritual addictions is way harder. Especially some of them we don't even recognize as an addiction. And because then it has to have that effort to change who I am, to change my essence. So it's even harder than the material addictions. Okay. But where most of our addictions come from, right? Those addictions, those tendencies, those vices, they come from our passions. And Kardec on question 907 of Spirit's book asked, the Spirit say, is a passion a bad thing? Because a lot of things you see, oh, being passionate. In some ways you see as a good thing, be passionate by something, but at the same time you think, you have this thing about passion being something negative. So you ask, is passion something negative? And the Spirit's answer, no, it's not. It's actually what it stimulates you to do things. So the problem is that when you lose the limit of your passions, it's how you use your passions. That's the problem. So then Kardec says, okay, so if you think the problem is when you lose the limit, right? So next question 908, Kardec asks, so how may we define the limit at which passions cease to be good and are bad, right? And that's the answer that they give to Kardec. See, the passions are levers that increase the human's powers tenfold and help them to fulfill the designs of providence. So when you're passionate by something, like you want to work on that thing, you want to, and saying it's okay, because it is already God created to us that passion. Even when you connect as a couple, first it comes that passion that makes you connect, and then eventually, if you work properly, it becomes love, right? It becomes something that's more subtle. It's not euphoric anymore, but it's you create the love, and then you go. Or I can be passionate about my work, or I can be passionate by my research. I'm a researcher, and I'm passionate that I want to get better. I want to find out more. That's what drives us a lot, right? It drives us technology. It drives everything, right? Create something better. I can have passion for food. It's like, and I love that. I have the passion for food, and I like the flavor. I like to know the smell, and maybe combining things. It's if I put this new dressing here, and if I combine this vegetable with this, it will go well. And it drives me to learn, and how we can do to a little bit healthier. Like a lot of people are passionate by doing like healthier ways to cooking. I have a friend who years ago got very passionate at doing healthy baking. And I'm telling the bikini was like, oh yeah, delicious. Great. Oh yeah, fantastic. I'm a little the dry side, but like it's. And now after years, she mastered it because she really wanted to find had the passion really to master her baking. Now it's awesome. It's fantastic, and it's healthier because she doesn't use sugar, she doesn't use this, she uses the flour for I think whatever, and it's delicious. Because she let that passion to, I want to find out, I'm going to find a way to make this is actually good, but at the same time healthier, and drove her to do it, okay? So passion drives us. So it's saying it's okay, right? And it says, however, guys, that's what I'm telling you. If instead of directing their passions, they allow themselves to be directed by them, they fall into excess. And the very power which in their hands could have done good falls upon them and crushes them instead. The problem is that when this passion, it's what drives me. So it's not anymore me driving the passion, me using that thing that I have to do something better or to improve something. Then now it's that passion that drives me, and I have no control. So instead of being, let's say, I'm passionate by food. Instead of being that person who's trying to do something better, combining better flavor, this, now the food's what drives me. So I eat the whole day. I'm addicted to food. Now it becomes an addiction. I'm addicted to food. I need to eat all the time. The only thing is about food. If I don't eat, I'm not good. If I'm not, and then usually when you get to this point, you're not eating healthy. Because I don't know, I haven't heard anybody who's addicted to food and who eats healthy. And we're talking addiction, right? You're eating way more than what you need. You constantly think you like the whole time. If I'm working, that there has to have something there for me to be eating all the time. Is it becomes it's an addiction, right? And then what I need the rush, and then usually you're more prone to eat what? Sweets, excess on sweets, excess on either greasy foods or anything, because now I need the high that the sugar gives me, because sugar gives you a high. And actually, there's a research that shows that sugar is, I think, eight or nine times more addictive than cocaine. Okay, so this is a documentary. Yeah, it gives you that high, and I need the high. Some people are addicted to sweets, and they eat sweets the whole day. Some people are able to drink their coffee in the morning, which is totally fine. Okay, because we almost like make the coffee this bad thing. Coffee is not bad. It's the excess. And it takes like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 coffees a day. And if you take even to decrease that, you start with all the withdrawal symptoms, headache, lethargic, and everything, but because the body now is addicted to it. So something was nice that I could, I love my coffee, enjoy, that smell of coffee. And I personally think the coffee smells amazing, but the flavor doesn't go with it. That's just me. Okay. Honestly, I think if the coffee tastes as good as it smells, then we'll all be addicted. And everyone's hopeless. It would be completely hopeless. Okay. But it's okay. Enjoy the food, the smell, and I have my coffee in the morning. But when now either I have my coffee, or I don't survive, or I don't work, I don't function, then it's an addiction. And and this addiction is what is driving you, is what controls you in your life. Right? So that's what it says here. The problem is not the passion. The passion is what drives us to go ahead, to do something. The problem is when we let the passion to control us. Right? And that can be on anything. It's the same thing for sex. Is sex something bad? No, not at all. Otherwise, none of us would be here right now. Okay, it all came from it. And it's great. That attraction between a couple, it's fantastic. It's part of the union and everything. But some people are addicted to it. And that's when let them to spend the whole day, or sometimes they can own pornography on the internet, paying for sex, this, and that's the only thing that I think. And if I don't have it, I need the rush to addiction. And that starts to control my life. I don't control my life anymore. It's that addiction that controls me. Okay. And again, it's very easy for us to see that when we're talking about sex, alcohol, food, because those are like materials. We don't see that on the spiritual ones, right? But the problem is that it's regardless if we're talking about material or spiritual addiction, in the end, they are all related to our own imperfections and to our moral tendencies. Because it's our moral imperfections and tendencies that will lead us to our material imperfections. Right? Our greedy comes from what? From my desire to, power, to have more. I have more money, to be, So it's my moral imperfection, right? My vanity there, right? I need more and more and more. So comes from where? From who we are, from our tendencies as spirit. So even the material, when we talk about, in the end, we could easily just talk about spiritual addictions, because they are those who drive both our spiritual and our material addictions in the end. Right? But there's a passage in James, and just like a side comment here, if anybody can explain me how in English, the name, actually, how the name in Portuguese, Tiago, goes to James in English, please talk to me at the end of this lecture. It's just a side.
Just the way it is.
I know, it's just the way it is, but it makes no sense at all. Because, you know, go Peter, Pedro, John, João, Timothy, Timóteo, and then James goes to Tiago.
The how is in French.
So anyways, that's just a side comment from me, because I did this lecture and it makes no sense to me. But anyways, back to the lecture. I was hoping someone would have a question, like an explanation for me. But anyways, so in James chapter 1, verses 2 to 4, he says something to us. He says, "My brothers and sisters, count it all joy when you fall into various trials." So what he's saying here is, be happy, rejoice when you go through trials and expiations. Which we don't like to hear a lot of us, like, I have to be happy because I'm going through hardship. He says, yes, be happy. He says, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. Because every time we go to a trial and expiation, every time we're in a situation that's difficult, even in small things, because when we think trials and expiations, we think about the big things. We never remember the little things on our daily lives that we put that test our patience. The other situation at work that put me on a situation to start the gossiping, and we fall right into it, right? 99.9999% of them, okay? We fall right in. We don't see those, right? Those expiations, those are trials. We've been tried. And he's saying here, once he's knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience, what he's saying is, we all want to be testing what we need to improve. Because our trials and expiations is what shows our tendencies are. You can have two people in the same situation, and one gets very angry and the other one no. When we didn't get, the other person didn't get angry, for them, that's not a temptation. There's not, that situation for them is not a temptation to say, I don't want to be angry. To the other, it still is. So to one, it's just a situation in life. The other one, it's a temptation. The temptation to, when I'm in this situation, I'm going to get angry. And if I get angry, guess again, I'm going to be put in a situation similar and eventually test it again. And test it again. Right? And then every time we keep doing the same result, the same angry, well, it means I have a habit now. That every time I'm in the situation, my habit, my vice is to react angry. I'm going to be kept test until you get one day, it's like, okay, being angry at this kind of situation doesn't work. And so what can I do different in here? Right? And that's how we let our tendencies become habits and become vices, become addictions, right? Moral addictions. So that's just saying, be happy that you're being put in on the situations, because they are going to be testing you, right? They're going to be testing you. That's why it produces, your faith produces patience. So if you learn how to go through these hardships, learn how to be on the situations and try to change the way we act, then we slowly, those tendencies that we have inside of us, they change. And that's why you all have different trials and different experience, because maybe I need different types, I have different types of tendencies that you have, than you have. So we need different experience, because I need a trial to work in certain tendencies that I have that you may not have it, and then vice versa. Okay. So it says, be happy. Because it's in those situations that you really realize what your tendencies are. Okay. Nobody can say, oh, I'm very patient, until they're not put in a situation that they're test their patience. It's very easy. It's very easy to say, oh, I'm very nice when everything around is beautiful. My life is fantastic and everybody's doing things exactly the way I want them to be done at work, at home. Yeah, it's very easy. You know, see, I'm very calm. I'm very patient. But let's see when the things around you go wrong or go not in the way that it's not even wrong sometimes. It's just not in the way that we want. Sometimes it's not wrong, right? It's going the right path, but it's not just the way that I want. Now we're angry, impatient. And that's why you have to live in a community. Because otherwise you could all just go to the top of the mountain and just be in prayer and meditation. That's it. Now a pure spirit. See, I lived my whole life at the top. I never fought with anybody. Look how patient I am. I'm connected with the nature. Look at that. Huh? Pure spirit. Fantastic. Right? Well, no. How do you know if you're patient? How do you know if you're not an angry person all the time? It's here. It's living with each other. It's being testing all the time. Because that's when we see our tendencies are, where our vices are, where our addictions or moral addictions are. Right? And some people are so angry, some people spend being angry their whole entire life about something. They're addicted. They don't want to let it go. That's how we see sometimes the spirits in the spiritual plan for 200, 300 years after another spirit because they want a revenge. Like that spirit already reincarnated 3, 4 times, already another level. No, but I need. So they let that addiction to control their lives. And they think they're in control now because I know what I want. I know what I want, and I'm gonna revenge the person. And we do this, and we do this in incarnators because we see this on disconnect. We do this in incarnate. People spend their whole lives trying to do something bad to another person because they're angry at them and they cannot forgive. And I'm gonna destroy that person. And don't realize that actually you lost the control of your life. And that addiction to being angry, that addiction to because you wanted to the revenge is not controlling you. And that's sometimes what we do. We let them control. So what's James saying? This is that. Rejoice, because every time we put in those situations is our chance to realize what our tendencies are. Is my tendency to be patient? Is my tendency to do gossip? Is my tendency to complain? Is my tendency, what my tendencies are here? And then he says, but let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. So he's saying that the higher is my tendency, and if I resist to the tendency, so let's talk about, for example, alcohol, because it's easy. Like when you're talking about the material, it's easier for us to picture, right? So let's say I have been an alcoholic in the last 3 reincarnations. All of them, I come as an alcoholic, and I die as an alcoholic, and I destroy my body, and everything. This one, I come again. What's my tendency? Because of the damage that I did on my pure spirit, is to have a connection with the alcohol. Pretty big one. Okay. And in this life now, I was born in a family that I chose because we participate, most of us here participate on choosing what family we're going to be born and what are the trials that we're going to go, at least in terms of families and relationships. Okay, so nobody was born in the wrong family. You know? The story of the stork that comes and drops off the lion baby on the hippopotamus nest is only in cartoons. It doesn't exist with us. Okay, everybody was born in exactly the right family. Okay? And I'm born in a family where either my father, my mother is an alcoholic, and I have this huge tendency to be an alcoholic because it's part of me. It's part of my essence as a spirit, right? I have the tendency. If I actually able to be born on that family and resist the tendency and look at the situation and say, I do not want that for me. I really want to start drinking as well. Really push, but like I'm not going to do because I see what's doing to my family. And I don't want that for me. And I really resist. That's what James is saying here. Your merit is huge. And there will no longer be a tendency on you. You finally fought against the tendency. You went through the difficulty and you fought against it. And you're no longer going to have it. And on the next reincarnation, there won't be a problem for you anymore. because you did not let the tendency become a habit again, become an addiction again. You fought against it. Or even the ones who sometimes fall into the drugs, into alcohol, or whatever it is, and all of a sudden they say, no, you know what, I'm not going to let this control my life anymore. I'm going to take on. It's easy. It's not easy. It's very hard. That's why we should never ever judge people and say, see, they don't have the goodwill to do it. And we're not in their shoes to know how hard it is, especially in a society instead of supporting, actually criticize. Again, we have the addiction of judging, right? We'd be so nice to have the addiction of helping people. My addiction, I have to help people. I cannot breathe. I have palpitation if I don't help someone. And we don't have that addiction, unfortunately, right? But you judge people, we do. Okay. And yes, some people had the chance to have the support and they didn't. It's okay. We have made the same mistakes, we do the same mistake all the time. But just think that because it's easy for us to see when it's something that's material. But the more, or how many times we had help as well to say, hey, no, don't make those comments, right? Don't judge. We'll keep doing it. Why don't we also resist to our own habits and bad habits and our own addictions? So why am I going to complain or judge someone because they have a hard time to quit drinking or sex or food or whatever it is, right? It is very hard, but some of them do. And they do, and they look for help, and they beat and say no, and they're sober for a year, 2, 10, 20, 30. They beat the tendency. They say, you're not going to take control of me anymore. That passion that I have, the tendency, that desire is no longer going to control my life. Because now I'm going to take my life back. It's my life, and I'm going to take it back. Okay. That's what James is telling us, right? Yes, it's not easy, but be happy. Be happy that you were put in that situation, because that's going to help you to realize what your tendencies are, and then consequently have the opportunity to say, yes, that's my tendency, but I'm not going to sink into it anymore. Now I'm changing, right? And it's okay. If it was on this one, it's going to be on the next one, They have time to make our changes, right? But we need those tries. We need those experiences to grow, to better ourselves, to grow ourselves morally, to let it go our vices. Because if you're not tested, then we're never going to get rid of them, right? And then there is a passage here from the first letter to the Corinthians from Paul of Tarsus. It talks about them. Because you can say, oh yeah, but some of the tendencies that I have are very hard. They feel almost impossible. So let's say, if I'm already an alcoholic and I'm born in a family of alcoholic people, like, come on. You're almost asking me to do the impossible, right? It is impossible. No, it's not. And that's what Paul of Tarsus brings to us in this letter to the Corinthians. So it's chapter 10, verse 13 of the first letter to Corinthians. Says, no temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to men. So first thing that says, listen, all those vices, all those hardships that you have, all the trials, all those bad things, they are from human nature. Basically saying, you guys created. Okay? It's not God giving to you. It's not God punishing you. That's all man creation. Very clear here, right? Law of action and reaction. So let's not be angry at God, okay? Because it's all our creation. So everything, all the temptations, all those bad tendencies, is all because what it is consequence of everything that I built as an immortal spirit through many, many lives. That's what created who I am today, and the ones that I have a choice that I make right now. It makes who I am. And that's what dictates what kind of moral level of evolution I am right now. So that's the first thing that it says. First, it's your creation. Okay. But it says, but God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you're able. So there's two things here very important. First, it says God's faithful. So he's saying, what he sees when God's faithful, he sees, God never fails. You can count on him 100%. He's always going to be with you. Always. He's faithful. You can always count with him. And he's perfect. So no matter what you're going through, it's what we have to go through. Okay? He's faithful. There's no mistakes here from his part. See? But then he says, but he's never going to let you to be tempted in what you cannot be tempted for, that you don't have the strength to be against, right? So see, he will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. In Brazil, we have that expression, right? God never gives you a winter that's bigger than your blanket, right? So no matter what hardship you're going through, is because you have the capacity to fight against it. He never sets us up for failure. So he's not going to get a spirit like me. Teresa say, Teresa, come here. Spiritual plan, come here. I want to send you back to Earth. Okay, you're going to reincarnate. And I'm going to give a mission like Chico Xavier. Okay. Now you go. And then after he goes, poor girl. She has zero preparation for that kind of a mission. Oh, she's going to fail so miserable, but I'm going to give her the mission anyways. Doesn't do that. Because if he gives a mission like that to me, it's going to be off. Right from the birth, it will be a disaster. I don't have the capacity for this. Far away from it. Okay? Far away from it. And I'm saying this because some people really have certain hardships in life from the moment they are born. They think, oh my gosh, but how can someone bear this? But we do have the means. And we see this all the time. You can see people in the exact same situation. And some of them has this peace, this resignation. It's unbelievable. And some of them just complain. And I see that I work in a hospital. I see all the time. I have patients who, like, everything that can go wrong goes wrong. Unbelievable. And I come to the room, and I always receive the smile. I have one patient right like that right now, and I'm thinking, where do you find this strength? He always has a smile on his face. He can be in the ICU, intubated, in the ventilator, and I come in the room and he smiles. Do you want to do something? Even if he just nods, because sometimes he has a trach and he's ventilated, he nods. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And I have patients who, for much, much, much less, you get in the room and it's complaining. And nothing that you do is ever good enough. Never good enough. This is crazy, this is bad, this is all terrible. And actually, I would say the other guys in a way worse situation. And he does that with, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And so it is possible, but it's a choice. It is a choice. Okay? How many times sometimes we look at ourselves and say, oh, why am I complaining so much of life? When you look at someone who has way less, it's like, you know, and I'm actually, I would say that because of my type of work, I should be way better than what I do. Because I see what hardships like right in the face. So for me, complaining is way worse than someone who doesn't live what I live on daily lives. Because I see there what suffering, what hardship is right in front of my nose. And even that, I'm addicted to complaining. Right? It's addiction. Addiction, right? Addicted to complaining instead of being. Whenever we're grateful sometimes. Oh, I'm grateful, but let's be addicted to being grateful. Right? Like when Chico fell, right? And America just like, be grateful. So be grateful for what? I fell and I heard, be grateful. So it's not my recipe. It's Apostle Paul gives the recipe, and everything we rejoice, be grateful. He goes, okay, thank God fell. Grateful. Okay? But we don't, because those falls are what helps us to grow. Right? But the apostle even adds, he says, okay, so God will not allow you to be tempted, go through a temptation that's bigger than what you cannot escape. But he says that, but he also is going to give you the means to escape it. Right? So it's but with the temptation will also make the way of escape that you may be able to bear it. So it just doesn't put us in a situation saying, here's the situation, that's it, and now you have to get out of it. No, the means come with it. He doesn't leave us alone. So it's not only doesn't give us trials and experiences that we don't have the capacity to get over it, to overcome it, but it also always gives us the way to escape it. And how it comes through friends that can give you support. It can come through medical help. It comes in many ways, but we need to be open. So he not only puts us in a situation that we are capable to go through, but he also gives us the tools to help us. Because some of the situations, if we don't have the help, it will be impossible. If we don't have the support from family, from friends, so someone who sometimes just gives you a hug and say, everything's going to be all right. And that changes your day, right? Did it solve your problem? No, but it changed your day, right? A book, maybe a lecture that you heard at the Spirit Center, you know? Going to the doctor, psychotherapy. Because psychotherapy is not just for our materials, material addictions, it's for our morals as well. Psychotherapy helps us a lot to understand how we work, what my tendencies are, how I process my sentiments. Helps us a lot. We have the impression that we should do psychotherapy only when we are going through bad times. No, sometimes we should do. I'm not saying that everybody should do it, but like, it's not a bad idea to sometimes just see, to know yourself a little bit better, right? But that's what we need sometimes, right? If you are going through in type of like addiction, like material addictions, yes, you do need a medical assistance for it, okay? But that's what it is. So you have to remember what the Apostle Paul brought to us. That we're never going to be tested beyond our abilities, and the help to escape it, to be victorious at the end of the temptation, to do not let it become an addiction again. It's always in there, but we need to be open for it, and we need to have less pride and look for it, and be able to say, I need help. I cannot do this alone. And for us around, be able to actually be able to help people around. So many people need help around us, right? It's like the lecture that Isabella brought to us today. It talks about this, right? Be always like open to help the other around you. Don't let them go away. They'll bring something good from the moment they spend with you, right? How many times a single conversation can save someone from not committing suicide in a moment of despair? There's so much that we can do for each other, because that's how this help that the apostle's talking about is. It always comes. If we persevere and we help, then we need to go through the hardship, no matter how hard it is there for us, right? How many times again is someone talking about gossiping? Maybe, hey guys, we should not be gossiping, and like, and then sometimes we stop it sometimes, but you know, and we keep going. But it had someone came, right? Hey guys, let's do less gossiping. You think it's a coincidence that the person showed up at the moment that we're there all gossiping and says, hey guys, it's not cool to gossip. That's how God does, to say, hey guys, you know, that addiction that you're having, not cool. Let's change it. The next day, just go back. It's so much better. So fun to talk about other people's life. That's amazing, right? As far as we're not the chosen ones. There's actually a book, it's a Spiritist book that talks about the mediumistic group. We talk because we think it's out there. So Spiritist Center, okay, it's a mediumistic group, and what they do every time someone who's not in the mediumistic, because they missed or they're late, everybody in the table is actually gossiping about them and criticizing, and then next week that person is in the group, but the other one who was criticized is not. So now they all criticize the one who was not there. And that's in the Spiritist Center, in a mediumistic group. Judging and gossiping about those, so it better come every Tuesday, because otherwise, otherwise you are gonna be the chosen one. Like, if you're missing, you're the chosen one. Right? So we think that outside, it happens inside the Spiritist house. You're not better than anybody else. We're not better than anybody else. Okay. So there is a book called Confia e Segue. It's not translated to English yet, but if it was translated with something like on a free translation, it'll be Trust and Go Ahead, or Trust and Keep Going. Okay, it's by psychographed by Chico Xavier, by the Spirit of Emmanuel. And the chapter 18 talks about this, called tentação or temptation, okay? And that's what he talks about. It says, we are tempted by the external forces of life according to our internal purification needs. So again, nobody goes to what they don't need to go. The temptations that I have are different than yours, than yours, but we're all going to be tempted in what we need to improve, right? Again, nobody gets better being on the top of the mountain alone, just praying, right? It's by being put in the situations that's going to touch our addictions and our vices, that's going to make us get better, okay? This means that each creature is tempted according to its own nature. So what are my vices? What are my bad habits, my addictions? That's what I'm going to be tempted, okay? Could be mature addictions that I've been bringing from many, many lives, or mature addictions that I created on this one, okay? It can be moral addictions, that's what I mean. But each one's going to be tempted in what's needed, okay? So thus, we are habitually reborn in the physical plane, carrying with us our individual deficiencies and domestic problems that require resolution or adjustments. So we're all going to reborn exactly the same tendencies that we had in, because we are the ones that can take them out of us. So not that I'll go back to the spiritual plane, or they take all my bad tendencies when I come back next. No, they're going to come with me. I create them, and I'm the only one that can take them out. I don't put them inside. I don't take them out. Okay. Spirits given to greed and cruelty often reappear in the cradle of wealth, experience the temptation of stinginess and pride, again to overcome them. Okay. So if someone who's greedy, I have the tendency to, when I see money, I want more and more and more. Well, guess what? I'm going to put in the situation when I'm going to be born in a wealth family. And again, I'm going to have all the wealth and power in my hand. And I'm going to have the temptation to do noise in a greedy way. The good thing is not everything is black and white. So now it's not like, okay, in this incarnation, I was very wealthy and I was very greedy. And that's actually how I got my money, by stepping on everything because I want money, I want more and more and more. And then the next incarnation already going to come well. Sometimes it's not like that. In the book Heaven and Hell, there's one of the cases on the happy spirits that the spirit tells us that on a previous incarnation, she abused her wealth. And then when she's in the spiritual plan, she realized this is how bad it is. So she asks for a few incarnations to come in a very humble position, like a poor position where she can learn like discipline, hard work, humility, and everything. So eventually when she would come, because she knew eventually she would have to come on the situation again, because she failed then in some moment she's going to have to come in a situation where she's going to have wealthy again and be tempted again by the wealth. Okay. And that's what happened. Few incarnations after, now she comes as a leader of the society, very wealthy, but because she had prepared herself with better tools to fight the greed, the tendency that she had inside of her as a spirit, she actually now is very successful. And using the wealth to fulfill her needs of the society that was asked as a woman at the time, on societal wealth, but used all the wealth to help all the ones around her, to not understand that the wealth didn't make her be better than anybody else or superior than anybody else, but in the other way, gave her the chance to help more people because she had more resources, right? The more resources I have, the more I can help people around. And she's now in the spiritual plan as a happy spirit because she was able to fulfill. Because again, remember, we're not set for failure. They'll give us the chance to prepare ourselves better. And it could be sometimes in some incarnations in between. It can be sometimes stay longer in the spiritual plan. If you look at memoirs of suicide, some of the spirits choose to stay longer in the spiritual plan instead of reincarnating right away because they want to learn more, they want to study more. So when they reincarnate again, they're better prepared. Okay. We're always going to be tempted and we're going to be in a situation that we need, right? Say, souls crystallized in rebellion and indiscipline almost always reappear in impoverished homes, facing the temptation of despair and delinquency once more in order to sufficiently conquer them. So same thing. What's a crystallized? It's talking about a crystallized in rebellion. Because I'm addicted to it. I'm addicted to be rebellious. I'm addicted to, so I'm not going to come in a humble situation. We're going to have to learn discipline, hard work, and everything. So again, nobody's born in the wrong family or the wrong situation. Okay. We often reunite through the blood family with our deepest aversions to transform them in pure love through forgiveness and service, devotion and renunciation. So spirits that sometimes come addicted to revenge, to hating each other for 3, 4, 5 reincarnations. No, now you're gonna come as a father and son, as a son and mother, brothers and sisters, because now it's gonna be through the ties of family. Right? And sometimes we have those family that we crush, which is okay. So, we grew up and still apart, but that's okay. That's the first step, because the brother love is starting there, or the father, or the parents and kids love starting there, and eventually you're going to come to another one, and it's slowly, because God's in our rush, and if I finally break that, the ties of the addiction of hating each other, and I'll start to learn to love each other. Right? In all scenarios of human struggle, you are confronted by harsh trials that speak closely to your own needs, so that in the sublime victory over yourselves, you may seek the peaks of life. So we all want to put in the trials that we need, right? And what we need to do is to overcome ourselves. The victory is over ourselves. The victory is to let my old self be replaced for something better, for a new self, so someone that's better. Then now, don't allow those tendencies anymore become habits and addictions for me anymore. Do not believe that you are simply tempted by others into descending into the abscess of darkness, or it's the other's fault. They are the ones tempting me. So I'm not that way, but that person puts me that way. That person brings me to darkness. Right? It's not me. So I'm super calm, but that's the person who takes my patience away. No. Right? It is we ourselves who, extending the thread of desire, attract to our detriment or benefit the companions that will increase our strength for the fall into shadows or for the ascent to divine light. So it's as we choose. And we choose the connections that we wanted to have, incarnated and discarnated. The ones that are going to help us to go down because I'm making the choice, or the ones that helps us to enlighten. Right? So it's us. We cannot put I'm an alcoholic because my father was an alcoholic. I understand it's harder to do that when you close in that environment, but it's your choice. It's your choice, right? We cannot blame the others. It's our own tendencies that led us to the situation, right? Because if it was like that, then every single child of an alcoholic parents would be an alcoholic, and that's not true. That's not true at all, right? So how we overcome our addictions and tendencies? So first, by knowing ourselves. Know thyself. Because if I start to realize, really look into myself, look at my tendencies. Every time I'm put in the situation, I always react the same way. I'm always angry. I'm always impatient. I am, every time someone crosses in front of me and when I'm driving. So how I react? How I react in this situation? What drives me to react in that situation? Right? And second, it's by looking ways for how to change it. Look what the tools that I have. Look for help. And look if I was changing, it can be like looking for help, being humble to say, I need help. Right? I had to go to a really, really dark place in my life to finally say, yeah, I need help. And people are telling like, I should look for help already for a long time. Oh yeah, maybe. And then I have to really hurt. And then say, yes, I do need help. And then I went to look for help. Okay. That's when I started psychotherapy. But I had to hurt really bad for me to try to do that, right? But it's there. But I could have to keep ignoring. I could, yes, I could keep ignoring. No, I don't think. I think this is just for crazy people. I don't need it. I'm not crazy. I'm going to solve on my own because I have spiritism and praying, and I'm just going to keep praying, and I don't need it. No. If I hadn't done psychotherapy, the spiritism was not by itself would give me some strength, but it was not going to solve my problem at all. So look for help. If that's medical help, psychotherapy. If it is, in some cases, it's the Spirit Center, or it's a good book, or a friend that can help, but look for help and accept the help that's around us. Trying to fight against our addictions, especially more, implies a lot of sacrifice and discipline. Really look inside of ourselves and discipline. That's hard. perseverance in change our behavior. Perseverance. That's one of the programs that I love the most is AA, and it's proved to be very efficient. It's one of because it's about perseverance. And you know what? Yes, you sober for a month, 2, 3, and then you fail. That's okay. We start counting again. Let's go. That's perseverance. Perseverance doesn't mean that I'm not going to make a mistake along the way, but it's like, you know what? Yes, I did a mistake again, but that's fine. I'm going to pick up again, and I'm going to restart again. And that's what it is, right? Keep going. Be perseverance. Yeah, you tripped and fell. Get up and walk again. Start again. That's what it is. Okay. And like I said, looking for medical or psychotherapy help if you need, if it's something more like a material addiction, right? And working for the good. That's what actually Emmanuel brings to us, Paul of Tarso brings to us, that the best way for us to disconnect from our vices is actually to practicing the good. Because if I'm practicing the good, I'm training and I'm using my virtues more and more and more. And the more I use my virtues, the less space I have for my vices. The more I do the work of good, of helping the other, of looking to the people around me, the more open I am to my virtues, the less open I am to my vices. The more and more I become this spiritual person and less materialistic person, right? The more values I give to helping someone than be attached to my clothes, my excess of clothes, shoes, this and that, and all, and realize I'm like, why do I even need all those things? I really don't need it, right? So the more we practice our virtues, the more we practice the laws of love, the fraternal love, of charity, looking around the ones around us, the more and more we are connected to the evolved spirits, the more and more we're open spiritually and here as incarnate to the good counsels that come around us, to the good energy, the more we're connected to our own virtues. We have virtues. We all here have our own virtues. We all do. We all do. So the more and more I get connected to that, and the more and more we disconnect from our vices, from our addictions, and the easier it gets for us to fight against them, to fight against these tendencies that we have inside of us. Okay. And that's what I had to bring to you guys today. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Teresa. That was a lot of food for thought. Am I right?
But easy.
Oh, super easy, super
Yeah.
easy. I know, I
Everybody's
completely
just
agree.
from living here today. That's it.
Yeah. What take is like, self-knowledge for sure, the humbleness, the discipline, and like those are the three that really popped up. Any questions, comments?
We have a comment here from Larissa. She says, "Hi everyone. I guess for the phrase confie e segue, we could say trust and move on. Let's say trust in the spirit of truth and move on."
Yeah, that's true. That's good. It's a good way of saying it. Yeah.
I have one in this last part, right? Because this other is kind of exactly what Denise say. We have the perseverance, we have this, we have that. We have with the drugs, the part we will fall out of the well, we will come back, right? But in the anger, we try to control, right? And we can follow the same steps. But in this last part, we always have sometimes that person that pull that from us. And then I was, a friend gave me this book once, that's Complaint-Free World. Was a priest from US that he did. And he developed a method there. They give you the bracelets every time he gossip or complain, they change. I try, but that's frustrating. You change too much.
That's what they
But
do.
and then there was one part that got my attention. That was that because he said no. At some point when I was going through the process, I noticed that I got to a point that I only changed the bracelet when I was with certain people, right? So that certain people would force me to gossip or would force to this or would force to that. And I start to understand that I had to keep distance from that people. But sometimes the people can be in our family. My question is that, like, so what would be a good approach to that. We don't cut that person off, but learn how to tolerate.
So that's the thing too, right? There are some people that are toxic, and for our own mental and physical health, we should keep away from that,
Yeah.
right? It's the same thing. If let's say if I'm a recovered alcohol addicted, I'm not gonna be going to bars every weekend, right? I'm gonna avoid environments that are not healthy for me anymore, and I don't have connection with that kind of environment anymore. Okay, so that's one thing, but that's easy to think. Now, when you think about, let's say, talking about anger or people that make me angry, right? You still have to go back to the know thyself. Because if the person's making you angry, it's very easy to say, oh, but that, see, I'm already not angry a lot, but there are 2 or 3 people that still make me angry. So I still need to know thyself. Why those people make me? Because the problem here is not to get angry.
That's why we are.
It's why what's in me, what they do in me, what sentiment they trigger in me that makes me to be angry. And I'm gonna give you like a personal example. Okay, and it's very recent. Okay, there's a situation that always makes me angry. Okay, and so I'm talking about. So then I brought this to my my psychologist. You know, every time this person does this, like I'm already angry, and then they realized, okay, but how they make it? Why you make it angry? I said, oh, because of this, and they said, did you realize that you make you angry? And I haven't noticed that. It's because I feel disrespected. I feel disrespected. But the thing is, the person, when the person does that, they're not trying to disrespect me. And I say, yeah, it's true. I know that the person's not trying to disrespect me. The person's just, you know, absent mind, and, you know, it's just disorganized, absent mind is doing this, right? So the problem is me. Why do I feel disrespected? The person's not disrespecting me. It's just doing something that I don't like, that I think should be changed. But not just, so it's my process. It's not the other person. It's not even about going away from this person or keeping away from this person. I cannot even do that anyways. But it's about me. It's still my process. So if it's someone that I cannot be away because it's family, or it's going to have the family gathering or anything, and that person is still irritating me, it still is my process. It's not the person. So it's not the anger. So because the thing is like, oh, you know what? I need to find a way for this person to not make me angry anymore. But for me to do not be angry, because the anger is just a symptom. It's not the problem. It's why I'm getting angry. But then it's know myself. Why when this person says this, it bothers me? Why? Okay. That's why Givaldo says, when someone offends you, it's their problem. When you feel offended, then it's your problem. Because you need to see where this person, maybe they touch my vanity. Maybe they touch my pride. What it is that I am allowing this person to irritate me. Why am I allowing this person to get me angry? Right? And that goes to either person who I don't have contact anymore, to the person, because sometimes people just don't make me angry anymore because I just don't have contact with them anymore. So it's not that they don't make you angry anymore, it's just you don't have contact.
And you cannot cut from your life everybody that
Exactly.
makes you angry.
Exactly.
That's not the solution.
Yeah. So it's still an internal process. It's still me, right? And in some ways, though, so I'm going to go back to James. Rejoice that you're being put in that situation because it's showing you what's your tendency. There's something that this person is helping you to let you know. There's something inside you. It's a pride, vanity, whatever it is, that when this person is, that I need to bear myself. Because the next time that it could be this person, because if not this person, it's going to become, someone else is going to come. Mm-hmm. Until I don't get this tendency to be angry every time that someone touches me that way, that flip me that thing that way, and I get it, it's going to come. Not the person's going to get another one, but I need to let the tendency go. Because it's like Givaldo says, if I'm the one who got offended, then it's my problem. And there is a professor in Brazil I like to follow, Karnal, but he says that, right? He says, someone says, hey, he's bald, right? Hey, bald guy. He says, I am bald, so why am I going to get offended? And he said, and if I wasn't bald, then I wouldn't get offended either. It's not true. So But we get offended sometimes. We get offended because there's two things. Either it's true, and then you cannot get offended because it is true, or it's not true, so you cannot offended either because it's not true. But we do, because a lot of times those comments, or they do, it sets our vanity, it sets our pride, so that's our problem.
Makes sense.
Okay, so I think we are over time. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was, we have a lot to think about it.
That's a light theme.
Yeah,
That's a
very
light.
light thing, very. Okay, so thank you very much for those who are watching us through the internet. We are gonna close for now. Have a wonderful Sunday and the week to come as well. We wait for all of you next Sunday again at 11.